confirm your pardon to whether he would testify. I actually think he's probably very tempted to. If you ever saw A Few Good Men, when Jack Nicholson comes into the court and they bait him.
You're damn right I ordered the code
yes.
red.
Yes. The code red. To me, the ego is similar, that he so badly wants to say, yeah, I invited them and they did the right, like I kind of imagine him on that precipice. But what I noticed the most in these hearings that I loved was the contrast in humanity. As they're talking, Schumer and Pelosi are speaking with the vice president. They're saying, be careful. That's not shown in that clip, but they're talking about it, and they said, don't let anyone know where you are, stay where you are. Here, his own president, same party, the one that chose him to be his running, is saying they're doing the right thing, not protecting him, not calling it off. And this is when, behind closed doors, the leaders were being leaders.
Wasn't Nancy Pelosi a badass? My goodness.
Alyssa,
I
want to know. And when you did that testifying, did you get some repercussions on that? I mean, has anybody threatened you? Were the people from the Trump crowd? What did they say?
Many times. So I actually sat down with the committee long before hearings ever took place. I, not just voluntarily in that I wasn't subpoenaed, I reached out to Adam Kinzinger and said, I want to help give the best roadmap I can to hold people accountable for that day. So I spent weeks sitting down with them before I did a formal deposition. And when I spoke out, death threats, harassment, I've been called a whore, a hoe. All the other women who did were subjected to sexual harassment, violent threats. My friend Cassidy Hutchinson had to travel with U.S. Marshals for months. She had to leave her home and relocate. And I want to say this. I had two big takeaways from yesterday's hearing. The first is Trump is a clear and present danger to American democracy.
Yeah.
Hands down, unequivocally. Secondly, Trump knew that he lost, but he chose to lie about it, and many chose to follow him. Most people chose to follow him. And what is so jarring to me watching this, 2 years almost after the fact, is how many adult men in power kind of just passively like, yeah, he knew he lost, but, let's move on. It was young women that stepped up and came forward and gave the facts that are, by the way, the reason the Department of Justice has the case. It's the reason that the January 6th committee was able to show this to tens of millions of people.
But everybody who was saying, including you, he knew that he lost. He knew that he lost. There is no direct connection with him saying that, so it's all hearsay.
He said it to me.
Yeah, I know, and I believe you.
Yeah, I wish I had it.
But
that's called
it's a statement against, but it's a statement against interest, so that can be used. That's an exception to hearsay. So I have no problem with that part. But I think what's so interesting is there's a scene that I don't think we showed it. You've got Steve Scalise, you've got Mitch McConnell, you've got all these men that are supposed to be such gran cosa, and they're standing around there agreeing with leadership that this is wrong. And then they come out maybe a few days or weeks after January 6th, and they're like, nothing to see here. Biden may not be the president. How disgusting and despicable is that?
I believe in this phone call right here with the Attorney General at the time, with law enforcement pleading for more help at the Capitol. You can see the Senate Majority Leader right there, Chuck Schumer, then pleading, I believe in this very moment, that the President go before the American people, and in particular go before the people at the Capitol and urge them to go home. And we saw in this hearing, this 9th hearing, how powerful the President's words were in real time in tweets and in social media. Once he did say go home, you could see them reading the messages and listening to them, which leads to the question, had that message been delivered much earlier in the day, would things be very different all this time later? This particular image here also significant because you can see Nancy Pelosi to her left, our left as we're looking at it. That's the Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, Steve Scalise, Chuck Schumer, Steny Hoyer, bipartisan leadership from Congress standing together, trying to figure out how they're going to secure the Capitol, protect the Constitution, protect the election. And this is what the committee was aiming to do today, this juxtaposition of the leadership, both Democrats and Republicans who were in fact gathered, though many are not talking about that moment, won't talk about the unity in that moment publicly anymore, but now we can see it. We can see it in the video. The juxtaposition between that image there and what the former president, Donald Trump, was doing in the meantime. We heard more testimony about that today, watching TV in the private dining room off the Oval Office. The committee revisiting those 187 minutes after he had initially been asked to tell people to go home, the president in a number of different ways saying that he would not act, that what they were doing was not wrong, and continued to watch this play out on television. And then, of course, the extraordinary move at the very end of this committee hearing, no doubt an historic move, though there is precedent for vice presidents and presidents to appear before Congress. In this day and age, this is an historic move by the committee to call Donald J. Trump, as they said, to subpoena documents, both documents and testimony under oath before the committee. Let's get to our congressional correspondent, Rachel Scott, who had early reporting of this. Rachel, of course, we knew at the beginning of the hearing when the chairman went out of his way to say not only is this not technically a hearing, we're calling this committee in session, and he was doing that to lay out the framework for the possibility, and now we know the very reality that they were going to hold a vote at the end of the hearing today.